As you're probably aware, Honeycomb Aeronautical are releasing a range of products. Some are already out there and some are still to be released. If you want to know more, check out my videos, link in the notes below. But today we're going to be focusing on the entry-level throttle quadrant from Honeycomb, the Bravo Lite. Welcome to your Flight Sim channel. My name's Mark. Thanks very much for watching and let's get started. The original Bravo throttle quadrant, launched I think it was sometime 2018 or 2019, has become a standard within the flight sim community. Honeycomb have launched their Bravo Lite, designed to come in at a lower price point, and for those that don't need the bells and whistles of autopilot, annunciator panel and so on. So let's have a quick look at what you get. Connection to the PC is via USB-C to USB-A on the PC side, as per all their other peripherals. Comes with two fairly large Boeing-style levers with reversers, and these are button presses for config purposes. Connection on the quadrant to the lever is via pins, made from a high-quality molded plastic. The flap lever itself is spring-loaded, with a tab on one side to fit into the various detents on the changeable flap detents that we'll look at later. Also comes with an air brake or spoiler lever. The light's not just for airliners, it includes throttle, prop and mixture. These are the same as found on the original Bravo, allowing you to swap out to a GA configuration if desired. The mounting system is standard fare, with a desktop mounting plate supported by two clamps. These clamps are all metal. They are slightly shorter than those found on the original Bravo. The Bravo Lite also comes with three interchangeable flap detents, designed for Airbus, Boeing, amongst others. The biggest change in comparison to the original Bravo is that it only has 4 as opposed to 6 axes. Each one of the axes has a detent in the lower portion. The detent, once again for config purposes, is a button. The unit has an inbuilt trim wheel. It's the same as that found on the Sierra. Nice feel to it, and it is, once again, a button press. The gear lever is exactly the same as that found on the Bravo, and there is a tension or friction adjustment for the axes that works very well indeed. The whole unit is made out of a hardened plastic. Where the original Bravo had a slightly rubberized feel to it, this one does not. Parking brake feature is very nice. It's spring-loaded, lift and twist to activate. This is a very welcome addition to the Bravo throttle quadrant in my opinion. As per the original Bravo, it features the gear landing lights, with the lights displayed red or green depending on the gear status. One USB-C connector at the back, as already mentioned. There is no backlighting to the unit at all. Size-wise, it's pretty much the same as the Alpha yoke and features the 6 removable screws along the top for attaching peripherals. Activation of the levers and buttons on the handles are activated via contact pins on the main axis itself, exactly the same as it was for the original Bravo. Throttle 1 has an additional button on it for go-around or similar, only suitable for Axis 2. Comes fitted with a flap cover that has no detents, but replacing it is fairly simple. It simply unclicks, select the flap detent of your choice, place it into the slot at the bottom and push it down at the top, and it clicks nicely into place. The flap works over the detents by simply lifting this tab over the various detents. Here for example I've fitted the detent that would most suit an Airbus style airliner. Lift the lever, raising the tab, and you're able to move the flap into the various detents. You can quickly and easily swap them out one to the other. Here we're looking at a GA config. Here we're in a standard throttle proper mixture config, with axis 4 being dedicated to the flap. The throttle lever itself also includes a go-around button, which once again registers as a button press. Looking at the air style levers, of which there are 2, Throttle 1 includes an additional button, once again most likely configured as go-around. Here we have a standard configuration with the air brake or spoiler in axis 1, power or throttle levers axis 2 and 3, and flap dedicated to axis 4. The small levers in front are the reverse levers. They're spring-loaded and click nicely into place, once again modelled on the original Bravo style from a design point of view. Let's quickly have a look at the main points of difference to the original Bravo. Gone are the autopilot functions, annunciator panel and switches, and of course from 6 to 4 axes. The trim wheel on the Bravo Lite is more GA styled, and there's no separate flap lever. I recorded this video some time before the release of the product, which we now know to be 21st of November 2025. So this portion of the video, if you like, is a late edit, as I now have pricing to hand and as displayed. Based on the current price published by Honeycomb, the standard or original Bravo Throttle Quadrant is $269.99, so the Bravo Lite reflects a saving of roughly £100. Now you can get deals on the Bravo, but the Bravo Lite will be much the same, and for what is a fairly fully featured throttle quadrant, I think it's fair value for money. We're going to jump into sim just now and give it a test, which will include using the gear lever itself. You'll notice that the lights don't come on. However, I'm aware that there's a driver coming out imminently. Unfortunately, at the time of doing the test, it's not available, not only for the Bravo Lite, but for the Sierra TPM. By the time you watch this video, that driver should be out and available under the download section on the Honeycomb Aeronautical website. A few other observations I'd like to make is that I fully accept and understand that this product is made to a price point. The airline levers themselves, they're of a good quality, very well made. It's a molded plastic, very impressed with them, but it would have been nice if they could have had a little plastic cap or something just to finish off the ends of the levers themselves here. It wouldn't have cost very much. It would have been nice just to have a little plastic cap that could have clipped in there and finished it off totally. Another observation I made is that here we've got, for example, we've got the access to the beginning of the detent. There's a definite stop there and then into the button press or detent area itself, and that is noticeable. However, I would have preferred that to be a little stronger. Now on the GA handles themselves it's not too bad, but with the larger lever, because naturally being longer you're exerting a little bit more force at times. It's not a showstopper, it's just an observation, but I would have preferred that detent to be a little firmer, a little stronger, a more distinct, because I did find on occasions that I would come back to idle and actually end up going slightly into the detent area. To anticipate some of the questions that may be asked quickly is the Lite compatible with some of the Honeycomb accessories such as the commercial handles? These are available as a separate purchase from Honeycomb. They feature the airline handles that come as standard with the original Bravo, and yes, they're fully compatible. The pins match up, button numbers are the same from the tests that I've done so far, so that's fine. And the GA handles themselves, they're exactly the same. They literally are exactly the same handles, so there's no problem there. The one thing that's not compatible, which are these rubber covers that fit over the axes. They don't fit. However, there's only 4 axes. You're probably going to be using them all the time, throttle, prop, mixture and flap or something of that nature, but they don't fit. Okay, so let's now jump into sim. Once again, at the time of recording this video, there's no default profile, but as Honeycomb have done for the Alpha and for the Sierra, they have released profiles which can be downloaded from their site. These should be available shortly and should include a base GA or airline type profile to get you started. So I've quickly made my own config, fairly straightforward, and we can put it to the test in the fly-by-wire A320 using Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We're lined up, runway 26 at Innsbruck. Let's jump in the cockpit and give it a test. Make sure everything's working as intended. Welcome to the business end of the A320, and let's start off by testing the parking brake. Parking brake off, and that's registering. Let's now put the parking brake on. Yep, that seems to be working perfectly. I've shown my config a little earlier. If you're struggling, just have a look at what I've set them to. I'm currently on Sim Update 4 Beta. We can now go ahead and test the flaps, move them through the various detents and make sure that it matches up with what we see in Sim. Now flaps full. Oh, that all seems to be operating exactly as we would expect. So let's now go ahead and see if we can activate the spoiler or air brakes. There's no button or detent at the top, so I couldn't set it to arm, but the spoiler movement through the various stages, well, that's fine as well. Let's now test the trim wheel, elevator up and elevator down. Okay, that's the basic tested. Now let's move on to the throttles. As you can see, my throttles are currently at idle. I'm now going to move them to climb, and you should be able to hear the engine starting to spool up. We can then move them to MCT, or maximum continuous thrust, and then toga, and the alarms will go off. Now we're back at idle, we can test the reversers. First of all, thrust lever number 1. Reverser engaged, and then the lever pulled back, and now throttle 2, and max reverse is engaged. We can now come out of reverse. Need to push the reversers forward, as I've set throttle idle when I push the reversers forward. This just helps the throttles from jumping forward. I'm happy with that. That's everything tested, except of course the gear lever. We can't operate that on the ground. So parking brake off, let me just set a little bit of flap and thrust to maximum. Toga, let's take off, and once we take off we'll be able to check that the gears are operating as expected. Here we go, and now gear up. And the A320 should now stow its gear. There they go, we can start to see them retracting. We're on our way. And now I think it's the appropriate time for me to share my final thoughts and opinions with you. For the asking price, the Bravo Lite offers a fairly fully featured throttle quadrant, suitable for those that usually fly single prop GA or the twin engine airliners. If you regularly fly a wide variety of different aircraft on a very regular basis, then the original Bravo could be the better choice. But if you don't fall into that category, the Bravo Lite offers a competitively priced product at reasonable quality. It represents, in my book, value for money and is recommended. I'm well aware that Honeycomb as an organization has been through some turmoil, but they certainly seem to be getting their act together. They are making definite strides towards improvement, and let's hope this trend continues. As always, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you found it useful and informative. So until next time, captains, stay well, look after yourselves, and ciao for now.